Listen to me right now, because what I am about to tell you might be the single most important thing you hear this entire year, and I am not exaggerating. I am not selling you anything. I am telling you this because I am sick and tired of watching hardworking people in 2026 get financially executed by an auto repair industry that has weaponized your own survival instinct against your wallet. Picture this scenario, and I want you to really feel it, because almost every single one of you watching this has either lived through it already or you are about to live through it in the next 12 months. You are coming down a long, steep hill on a hot afternoon. Maybe you are stuck crawling through brutal stop-and-go traffic for 45 minutes straight, your foot riding the brake pedal every 20 seconds. Then it happens. You press down on that brake pedal, expecting that firm, reassuring, solid resistance you have felt every single day for the last 10 years. And instead, your foot just sinks. It sinks like you are stepping on a wet kitchen sponge, like the pedal has lost its soul, like there is absolutely nothing mechanical between your foot and the asphalt rushing toward you at 40 miles an hour. Your stomach drops into your shoes, your hands lock around the steering wheel. You pump the pedal frantically, 2, 3, 4 times, and finally, mercifully, the car shudders to a stop maybe 6 feet further than it should have. You sit there, heart pounding, sweat on your forehead, convinced you just stared death in the face. So what do? You limp that car straight to the nearest Western dealership, that gleaming glass and chrome Stealership, because you are terrified, you are shaken, and you want a professional to tell you everything is going to be okay. That is the exact emotional state these places are designed to exploit. The service writer sees you coming. He smells the fear. He pulls out his clipboard, plugs his diagnostic scanner into your car for about 45 seconds, and then he comes back with that practiced, sympathetic face, and he hits you with the killing blow. Sir? Ma'am, your master cylinder internal seals have completely blown out. Your anti-lock braking system pump module is no longer holding hydraulic pressure. We are going to have to replace the entire hydraulic control unit. The quote slides across the counter. $2,000. Maybe $2,200 with tax and shop fees and the mandatory brake fluid flush they were going to do anyway. And you, in your post-traumatic panic, you nod your head and you sign that work order because what choice do you have, right? You have kids to drive to school. You cannot risk your life. This is a scam. This is one of the most profitable, calculated, repeatable extortion schemes happening in every American suburb in 2026. And the dealerships making billions off your survival panic want you to believe a sinking brake pedal means catastrophic mechanical failure. It almost never is. It is basic hygroscopic chemistry and the physics of compressible gases that every Japanese master mechanic learned in their first year of apprenticeship. But as always, I am sharing this old-school hydraulic secret strictly for educational purposes, so you understand what is actually happening inside your vehicle, and you can have an informed conversation with a trustworthy professional, because your safety is non-negotiable. Now let me walk you through the actual engineering of your braking system, because once you understand this, you will never be fooled again. Your car operates on a principle discovered by a French mathematician named Blaise Pascal back in the 1600s. Pascal's law states that pressure applied to a confined, incompressible fluid is transmitted equally in all directions throughout that fluid. Read that again. Confined, incompressible, fluid. Those 3 words are the entire foundation of every hydraulic brake system ever built, from a 1985 Toyota Corolla to a 2026 Lexus LX. When you press your brake pedal, you are not magically stopping the car with foot strength. A simple human foot cannot generate enough force to stop 2 tons of steel moving at highway speeds. What you are doing is pushing a small piston inside what is called the master cylinder, which is mounted on your firewall right behind the brake booster. That piston pushes brake fluid through a network of steel hardlines and flexible rubber hoses that snake through your entire chassis out to each of your 4 wheels. At each wheel, that fluid pressure pushes against much larger pistons inside the brake calipers, which then squeeze the brake pads against the spinning brake rotors, and the friction is what actually stops your car. Your foot might apply maybe 100 pounds of force, but Pascal's law and the difference in piston surface area multiplies that into thousands of pounds of clamping pressure at the wheels. It is a beautiful, elegant, mechanical system that has barely changed in 70 years because it works. The master cylinder itself is essentially a piece of forged steel or aluminum with a polished cylindrical bore and 2 or 3 rubber seals inside. Toyota, Honda, Subaru, Mazda, they over-engineer these things to last the entire lifespan of the vehicle. I have personally rebuilt master cylinders out of 1,992 Hilux trucks with 300,000 miles on them, where the original seals were still flexible and perfectly intact. These components do not just blow out spontaneously. They do not fail because you drove down a hill one time. The dealership tells you the master cylinder seals have failed because it is the single most expensive component they can claim to replace without you being able to verify it yourself. You cannot see inside a master cylinder. You cannot inspect it in your driveway, so they say the seals are gone and you have no way to argue. That is the entire foundation of the master cylinder scam. Quick break right here, because I need your help fighting back against this. If you are tired of mechanics weaponizing your fear of a car crash to sell you a $2,000 ABS module, hit the like button right now, because every single thumbs up tells the algorithm to push this video out to another scared driver who is about to get robbed at a service counter this week. And while you are down there, tell me in the comments if you have ever felt your brake pedal sink to the floor and what a dealership tried to charge you to fix it, because I read every single one of those stories, and the numbers people are sharing in 2026 are absolutely insane. Now let us get back to the crime scene. Here is the playbook the Stealership runs on you, broken down line by line so you can see it coming a mile away next time. You walk in describing a spongy pedal. The technician does not even need to road test the car. He already knows what he is going to write on the invoice before he pops the hood. He pulls a code, any code, maybe a generic ABS module communication fault that has been sitting in the memory since 2022, and he prints it out with that red warning highlight. Then comes the labor estimate. 8 hours of book time to replace the hydraulic control unit. 8 hours. At a 2026 shop rate of $190 to $250 per hour in most major metropolitan areas, that is $1,500 in labor alone before you have even touched a single part. The ABS hydraulic control unit itself, brand new from the dealer, that is anywhere from $600 to $1,200 depending on your make and model, and they will absolutely refuse to install a remanufactured unit because, quote, liability. Then they add brake fluid, shop supplies, hazmat disposal fees, the mandatory module programming charge of another $200 because the new ABS computer needs to be coded to your VIN, and suddenly your $2,000 quote has crept up to $2,400. They will tell you it cannot be driven safely until repaired. They will offer you financing through their in-house credit program at 26% APR. They will offer you a rental car for $90 a day. The entire machine is designed to extract maximum dollars from a person whose nervous system is still flooded with adrenaline from almost crashing. And the dirtiest part, the part that should make you genuinely angry, is that 95% of the time, the master cylinder is perfectly fine, the ABS module is perfectly fine, and the actual root cause of that spongy pedal can be solved by a teenager in their driveway with $10 in supplies and 45 minutes of patience. So what is actually happening inside your brake lines when that pedal goes soft? This is where the suppressed science comes in, and once you understand it, you will never look at a brake fluid bottle the same way again. The brake fluid that almost every passenger vehicle uses is called DOT 3, which stands for Department of Transportation Specification 3. DOT 3 fluid is primarily composed of polyethylene glycol ethers and borate esters, and it has one chemical property that is absolutely critical to understand. It is hygroscopic. Hygroscopic means the fluid actively, chemically, magnetically attracts water molecules out of the surrounding atmosphere. Your brake fluid is literally thirsty for moisture, all the time, every single day. Now you might be thinking, my brake system is sealed. How does water get in there? The answer is your flexible rubber brake hoses. Those rubber sections that connect the rigid steel lines to your moving suspension components, they are slightly porous at a microscopic level. Over the course of 2, 3, 5 years, atmospheric humidity slowly diffuses through the rubber walls and gets absorbed by the fluid inside. Your master cylinder reservoir cap also has a vent. Every time the temperature changes, the system breathes. Water gets in. Fresh, clean DOT 3 fluid has a dry boiling point of around 401 degrees Fahrenheit. That sounds great. But once that fluid absorbs just 3% water by volume, which happens in about 2 years of normal driving, the wet boiling point crashes down to around 284 degrees. Some heavily contaminated fluid I have tested in older cars boils as low as 240 degrees. Now consider what happens when you brake hard down a hill or in heavy traffic. The friction between the brake pad and the rotor generates intense heat, easily 300 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit at the rotor surface, sometimes hotter. That heat transfers directly through the brake pad backing plate into the caliper piston, and from the piston straight into the brake fluid sitting right behind it. The water dissolved in your fluid, which boils at a measly 212 degrees, instantly flashes into steam. Pockets of gas form inside your brake lines. And here is the secret the entire industry buries. You cannot compress a liquid, but you can absolutely compress a gas. When you press the brake pedal now, The master cylinder piston is no longer pushing solid, incompressible fluid against the caliper pistons. Instead, it is just squishing those steam bubbles. The pedal sinks to the floor because all your foot energy is being absorbed by compressing gas pockets instead of clamping the brake pads. That is vapor lock. That is the entire mystery. Your master cylinder is fine. Your ABS module is fine. Your car just has a fever, and the cure costs $10. Let me walk you through exactly how the old Japanese masters fix this in their backyard shops in Osaka and Nagoya, and how you can do it too if you are mechanically inclined and you take every safety precaution seriously. First, you go to any auto parts store and you buy 1 quart of fresh sealed .3 brake fluid for about $7. You buy a 3-foot piece of clear plastic vinyl tubing with a 1/4 inch inside diameter for about $2. You grab an empty plastic bottle. Total cost, $10. You park the car on a perfectly flat, level surface, you chock the wheels, and you safely lift the vehicle using a proper hydraulic floor jack, and you support it on 4 certified jack stands rated for your vehicle weight, never under any circumstances trusting just the jack itself. You remove all 4 wheels. Behind each brake caliper, you will find a small hex-shaped fitting called a bleeder valve, sometimes covered by a rubber dust cap. You open the master cylinder reservoir under the hood, and you top it off completely with fresh .3 fluid. Now here is the absolutely critical rule, the one rule you cannot break under any circumstance. You must check that reservoir constantly throughout the process and never, ever let it run dry, because if air gets sucked into the master cylinder itself, you will introduce air bubbles into the entire system and you will create a real problem that requires professional equipment to fix. You start at the wheel farthest from the master cylinder, which on most cars is the right rear passenger wheel. You attach one end of your clear plastic tubing snugly over the bleeder valve nipple, and you put the other end into your catch bottle with about an inch of fresh fluid already in it so the tube tip is submerged. You have a helper sit in the driver's seat. They slowly press the brake pedal down to the floor and hold it. You crack open the bleeder valve with a wrench. Dark, dirty fluid, mixed with bubbles, will shoot through the clear tube. You close the valve before they release the pedal. They pump it back up. You repeat the cycle. Pump, hold, open, close, release. You watch the fluid flowing through that clear plastic tube like a detective. At first it is brown and full of compressible gas bubbles. You keep going. You top off the reservoir after every few cycles. Eventually the fluid coming out runs perfectly clear, golden, and completely free of any bubbles. That is your signal. The trapped steam and contaminated fluid have been purged. Tighten the valve. Move to the left rear, then right front, then left front. Top off the reservoir one final time. Put the wheels back on. Sit in the driver's seat and pump that pedal. It will feel like a solid brick wall again. Your braking power is fully restored. You just saved $1,990. I have to be extremely serious with you for the final minute of this video because brakes are not a system where you cut corners or get cocky. Brake fluid is incredibly corrosive and will eat the paint right off your car in minutes if you spill it, so cover your fenders with old towels and wipe up any drips immediately with soapy water. You must support that vehicle on certified weight-rated jack stands on a hard concrete surface, never on dirt, never on grass, never on just the jack. People have been crushed and killed doing this wrong. And I will say it one more time because it is that important. Never, ever let the master cylinder reservoir run dry during bleeding, or you will introduce air into the system and you will lose your brakes entirely. If you are not 100% confident in your ability to do this safely, take this video to an independent, honest mechanic, an old-school shop, and ask them to perform a complete brake fluid flush and bleed for about $100 instead of the $2,000 fantasy the dealership is selling. Subscribe and hit the bell before the automotive service lobby makes it illegal to bleed your own brakes, because the way 2026 is going, that is exactly where this is heading. Stay safe out there, trust the physics, and never let a service writer in a polo shirt sell you fear instead of fact.